Hi, yes, hello. I am Garden, and I am a random lady who has thoughts and whatnot about video games. This video is going to be me talking about Dark Souls, its siblings, and its common perception among gamers outside the FromSoft sphere, because, again, I have thoughts. To start, I feel like I should preface that I was also a person that wasn't keen on playing these games at first for many reasons. But all that's changed, obviously, so how did I end up here? Well, I got into FromSoft's games because, one, I'm an artist and I need to play it. My favorite artist did and got noticeably better afterwards, and I want some of that. I want some of that sweet, sweet art skill. If I get serious about being a game maker, I also need to play it from what I know about a lot of my favorite modern video games. Plug Mythos makers. 3, I'm a writer, and I also need to play it, because it's literally Berserk, but for gamers, so yeah, whoops. And all that came from endless but well-meaning brother peer pressure. Thanks. So eventually I cracked, played a few of the games, and ended up loving them too, because somehow FromSoft stuff does actually manage to be well-written, well-meaning, well-arted, and well-gamed. But wow! Notice how I wasn't swayed at all by the community?
Yeah, it's almost like that's the topic of this video or something.
The game just was not sold well by the people talking about it online for years. For example, they believe Dark Souls can't be beaten unless you follow a bunch of different conflicting rules you can't break in order to truly win, when no. They all sold its difficulty as if it's impossible and frustrating to overcome, which then led people to believe it's a rage game with no merit, when no. And a few even think they're plotless fantasy jargon with little deeper meaning, and as per the rule of threes, no. That means your only exposure to the community is from the most toxic bunch that exists at its edges. Bad. Plus, the no easy mode argument has been beating a bruised horse skeleton for forever. While there is a lot to say on that topic, and I will brush on it later, that's not what this video is about. That's a whole different can of horse skeleton worms, and we'll open it later. I am so amazed that a majority of my comments on the finger theory video were actually positive because of this very thing, but I think that's more the difference between lore people compared to gameplay people. So, thank you, lore people, for being chill. And I know y'all probably already know a majority of what I'm talking about, but I feel it bears repeating for the new blood. One of the purposes of this video is to help you get your friends into these games by explaining it very simply. So please, bear with me as I explain basic shit. Regardless, this bad reputation Dark Souls has among more casual gamers is still such a problem. Friends of mine who I know for a fact would love these games don't play them out of fear. That's fucked! A massive covenant of FromSoft fans have done a community disservice to Dark Souls, and I'm here to try and rectify it with a little video. Enjoy. An old adage of the internet goes like this. You haven't truly beaten Dark Souls until you've beaten it by doing this. That shit is stupid and wrong, and I plead all new players not to take this seriously. Dark Souls is already a challenging game for most players that will test their patience beyond what most games ask for or even allow. Asking someone who's never touched these games to play them in a tediously specific way just won't work. The best equivalent I can think of is if you wanted to get someone into Pokemon, you wouldn't ask someone to play their first ever game with Nuzlocke rules. And similarly to Nuzlocks, these lists of rules have made it so far to the edges of the community that some people think that's how you're supposed to start playing these games. However, most people understand at least that a Nuzlocke is optional, a self-imposed challenge, but for some reason do not believe Soulsian rules to be the same. I don't know why, I really don't, but I have seen this take. It's tiring. I've seen people claim you can't use built-in or co-op buddies, heals or level ups, or anything other than the level 1 shitty straight sword you get at the beginning. I'm talking stuff like, unless you beat Dark Souls deprived level 1 busted sword, you didn't beat the game. It's not good for new players, y'all. Old ones sure, but new players just get scared. It was enough of an issue that some new fans on Reddit were asking exactly what rules they could and could not break while Elden Ring was new. It wasn't common, but it was common enough that threads like this had to be made, telling them that they can, in fact, use whatever means they want to beat the game. Because these games are just like any other. Whatever means you use to get through the game is what the correct way to beat the game is. My first ever Dark Souls build was the equivalent of poking someone with a giant stick behind a huge shield with a ball of lava fire in my offhand and Solaire in literally every fight I could because I'm a coward who can't do shit alone. But despite all that, I beat the game fair and square because that is the point. FromSoft games aren't lists of rules to follow as you trudge through level designed by a troll. It's a world to explore that wants to kick your ass in a rather rude manner while always giving you the option to do it right back if you stop and think about how. Granted, that world is totally filled with levels designed by a troll, but it's okay. He only has like 5 tricks, and if you remember them all, you win. 1, if you look forward and see only one enemy. There's not. There's more. 2, is there an item? Cool. There's also an enemy. 3, is there an upgrade creature? It'll lead you into an enemy. 4, is there a visible melee guy? There's a hidden ranged guy. 5, most importantly, are you dying because you keep running right up to the enemy? Then circle strafe. Please. Come on. And boom. You're set. And if you know these rules, the next point of these games being impossible to beat rage games falls sort of flat. All of FromSoft's games have very classic, defining sense of difficulty, sure. In fact, that's what made them special near the beginning. In the age of the aughts to the early 2010s, games held your hand so hard it'd crunch your finger bones. So this return to the old quarter muncher style of arcade difficulty, where deaths and game overs aren't a mistake of the game designer, but an expectation for everyone picking it up. It was a very nice change of pace from what the norm had become. But despite being hard, they aren't really unfair games, which is a very important distinction. A lot of arcade games were straight up never meant to be beaten, with final bosses like the hammer, but Dark Souls is different. It can be beaten, despite all the hard shit it will constantly throw at you. Because for as much as it does beat you with sticks as per the list of rules mentioned earlier, the game will also give you plenty of bones. Built-in co-op buddies, overpowered fun weapons, and using what seem to be cluttered, unfair environments to your advantage. The real challenge throughout most of Dark Souls isn't the game itself, it's about not getting tilted by all its bullshit, because there's almost always something you as a player could have done better. It isn't a rage game meant to make you as thoughtlessly angry as possible, it's a reflective game that's meant to make you think about your actions as much as possible. Yes, sometimes enemies and bosses are really long, tough, drawn-out fights that are a test of your patience, endurance, and skill. But the game asks, how do you handle that? Do you reflect on what happened, think of what to do better next time, and keep trying? Or do you get angry at the game for being what it is and thoughtlessly try the same things over and over? And if you do just get angrier and angrier whilst losing to your same mistakes, thoughtlessly swinging your weapon around, then you're going hollow. You're becoming less of a human and more of a shell of a human, letting their negative emotions pilot them instead of their brain, because that's easier than thinking. This ties back into why these games have no easy mode. If there was a mode that allowed the game to be easier, the struggle to beat it wouldn't mean anything. Plus, as long as you pay attention, know the rules, and learn from your mistakes, you'll be fine. And the true point of these games is to tell you, in the only way it can, to persevere. Despite how hard shit gets, keep a calm head, take a deep breath, reflect on what to do, and try again. So, no. I don't think these games are plotless fantasy jargon. I actually think they have a very important message to send that not enough people understand, and I want people to know what these games are actually about. The message at its core feels very necessary in our modern, confusing world. That message being, keep fucking going. Sometimes, shit can be hard, or even unfair. It can be depressing and dark. It's how it is, even if it's not the way we want it to be. And through those hard times, we need to keep going. We need to find a goal and enact it. Find what you want to live for and do it. Find your fire and keep it safe. It may flicker, flare, and fade, but by feeding it, it will stay alive. You will stay alive. Don't go beast. Don't go hollow. Stay human. And that is the point of Dark Souls. Not to force you into some weird cult of tryhards or trying to get you so mad you eggify your brains. It's about learning how to get back up and try again. And if you want to hear it straight from the horse's mouth, look in the description for an interview with Miyazaki, the creator of these games, about this very topic.
You know, how the dude that made these games dies to them all the time because that's the goddamn point.
And if you have any advice you received as a first-time Souls player, or advice you wish you had gotten, leave it in the comments for anyone who wants to give them a shot after watching this video.
So, keep going. All of you humans, hunters, tarnished, ashen, and undead. Stay determined. And I'm rooting for you. Next video is called Games I Sound Insane Talking About. First of many. See you then, after these messages.